Greetings, Force users and heroes. Welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Alyssa Simmons, and I'm joined today by my pals Dino Nicandros.
Hello.
And Daniel Dawson.
Hello there.
And today we have a very special guest. Mr. Konnery Hansen is in the Tauntaun carcass with us.
I'm writhing around in the guts and staying nice and warm. And I got my favorite bat suit on and I'm ready to party.
Yes! Konnery is a comic book writer, D&D master, fellow podcaster, and of course, local Batman expert. So welcome to the pod, Konnery.
He's your local Batman.
You. I prefer the term local bat boy.
Oh, great.
Have you ever seen that musical?
No, I actually haven't seen it. I've heard about it, but never watched that one.
It's such a good musical.
Great.
It's okay.
Well,
nothing to do with Batman, though.
No.
Oh, man.
No. But if you haven't guessed, today we're talking about The Batman, written by Matt Reeves and Peter Craig, directed by Matt Reeves. And by God, we're Batman fans.
Good.
Inside the Tauntaun Podcast, please like and subscribe.
Oh, wow. The day is finally here. We are talking about The Batman.
Well,
guys, first impressions, go.
I saw it in IMAX, and
Great.
I don't think that the subwoofers have ever worked so hard. My God.
Correct.
It actually, like, legit. I was thinking particularly in the car chase scene.
Mhm.
Like my seat moved.
Yeah, when the car starts up and like the jet's going off and your seat literally vibrates. It's crazy.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got chills. I don't know if I was just in a really vulnerable or very tired mood, but like but legit, like at the end of that sequence, like I actually got teary-eyed because I was just like, oh, this is very cool. Yeah.
I mean, there were some cool car chases in the Dark Knight trilogy, but
Yeah.
this for me was like
Sick.
I still have questions from a technical standpoint about how they achieved some of the shots they achieved.
Yeah.
I was
right.
blown away by
Artistically,
where they mounted the camera. Like, even I'm just
Yeah.
talking like strictly about action sequences where they
Mhm.
mounted the camera and the perspective from which they I mean, it's that one shot that we saw in the trailer where the Batmobile grinds to a halt and then the Penguin's car flips over it.
Right.
I'm sorry, this is
effing
just
cool as hell.
Stop it.
I mean, yeah, so technically beautiful, visually beautiful, music beautiful. I mean, I wanted to be like harumph about Robert Pattinson, but he was freaking wonderful.
He's a fantastic actor. I'm like,
Yeah.
so
he killed
the
it.
weird sense. I talked about this on the episode we did on it on the Friendchise, but I was like, I'm so proud of him for some weird reason. Like, I just feel like I've grown up with him. And
Yeah,
like him and Kristen Stewart have just grown to such like phenomenal actors to me
It's
that
true.
it just feels
Oh my
so
gosh,
amazing to see them, like fully bloom into like these amazing like badass people.
yeah, who would have thought, honestly, from the Twilight franchise? Like, both of them have just really become
Blossomed.
really great actors. Both of them are really great. And
Well,
they pick
and I think
cool
they
projects
always
too.
and they always were. I think this is a
Yeah.
classic case of the material did not support the talent involved.
What do you
Yeah.
mean?
Look, I've watched all the Twilight movies. They are goofy, and I agree. And I still think they're
Yes.
fun to this day.
Sure,
Yes.
they're
But-
absolutely fun. Sure.
But like, yeah, like Robert Pattinson, like I guess what's her name? Kristen Stewart in what's it called this something shopper. It's not Secret Shopper.
Oh,
it's-
yes, I know what you're talking about. What is that movie called?
Was
it's,
that like a rom-com?
It's like what's the job of the person like goes like shopping for you?
Yeah, a personal shopper.
Personal
Oh,
shopper. That's what it is. So personal shopper, and then Robert Pattinson in Good Time is like to me being like,
Yes.
oh shit, they're
Yes.
really really good.
Yeah, like, oh. I truthfully, there was like a lot of points in it that you probably could have replaced the music with Evanescence music. It would have been
Well,
really
they play some
hilarious.
Nirvana music.
Yeah,
Just
we
because his
got
hair is
Nirvana.
all like this and he's got the black eyeshadow. He's like, how does it feel?
I mean,
fire?
he is Kurt Cobain.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
For
true.
real.
Yeah, and there were Kurt Cobain music in the film, right? Am I crazy?
One song.
Just
Mhm.
one. Okay, yeah. I thought I remembered something in there.
Yeah.
Konnery, since you're a guest, what your initial impressions? I get the sense that you despised it, but I'd like to know more about why that is.
Thing is, I have stuff to say about that. Like, leading up to this movie, I was really scared that it was going to be mediocre, or
Me too.
or in my eye, it'd be hyper violent, and I'd be really turned off by it. Like, I thought this movie would have no room for levity. I thought it'd just be this upsetting movie about a man who just beats the crap out of everybody he sees, and he won't grow, and it'll just be about like how cool is Batman because he beats the shit out of everybody he sees, and he has no feelings. And I was like, that really sucks. I'm really not excited. And so going to this movie, I had really like just low expectations. I was just ready to be like pummeled in the face and be like, well, I'm exhausted and I'm sad, but it was so but afterwards I was exhausted in a very different sense of being like, oh my god, I was just there's so many little like nuggets in there of like fan stuff. If you're like in the know of like comic book things from like the Batman universe, you're just like, there's something, there's like little clear inspirations here and there. I can talk about that more often if you guys actually want to hear me ramble on about that. But
yeah, that's why you're here. Yeah.
Oh, good. So there's little bits of that. The ending of the movie left my jaw drop. Have you guys seen Mission Impossible Fallout?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, okay. So you know in that movie where they make like the bomb went off, like the nuclear bomb went off, and you think the whole movie is going to be about like Tom Cruise getting a vengeance from like a nuclear apocalypse America or something like that, or like some part of America is like a nuclear wasteland.
Yes.
But no, it's just a lie, and it's just a big elaborate stage. During the scene where the Riddler blows the seawall and Gotham's flooded, I was like, there's no way this is happening. There's no way. Like, this is just like a what if scenario. Like,
me too. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And then it's actually happening. Like,
and you're like, what?
I know. I was like, what? And I literally almost like stood up in my seat.
Like,
I was just
where
like,
do they go from here?
Daniel, that's like, I was so excited because I was like, they're doing No Man's Land. They're doing 0 Year. Like, this is like, this is the legit, like, this is the Gotham where like all the freaks come in. Like when the city dam walls burst, to me, that's like, this makes way for the new element. This is like how the Penguin ascends. This is like where we get like Killer Croc and Mr. Freeze. Like, this is where all the weirdos come out to play.
It kind of
like
feels
the Joker
like
appears.
Are you a gamer?
Oh yes.
So I'm assuming you probably have played the Arkham series.
Oh yeah, I love those.
Yeah, kind of turning into that world.
Mm-hmm. It's very Arkham City-esque is what I felt there.
Exactly.
And with the news that it was actually this morning, Deadline ran an article that Matt Reeves's Gotham PD series isn't going ahead, but it instead is not.
No, it's not.
And they are instead going ahead with a series based around Arkham Asylum.
Which sounds way more interesting.
Really?
So you mentioned Arkham
HBO,
City.
Yeah.
HBO
Max.
I am so excited about that.
So you mentioned Arkham City and the idea of maybe walling off a portion of Gotham that is so lost that maybe it is a way to control the criminal element.
I got chills. If they do a live action sort of, oh man, because that entire storyline is just
one of the best Batman in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
so epic. It's so good.
The whole thing of Arkham City, I remember being like, I think I was in high school when it came out, but that was the video game I was most amped for, I feel like, ever.
Yeah.
With the exception of Elden Ring. I was.
Oh my God, Elden Ring! It's gonna start. It's taking my life away.
Oh, good. Someone else understands. So with the exception of that, that was the last game I was super excited for. The ending of Arkham City like made me freak out. I remember. Like, it was so stupid
and
good.
then the beginning of the next one was just like,
Arkham Knight was nuts. They're all nuts.
They're all nuts.
Like Rocksteady has a really firm understanding of like the Batman mythos. I'm a little iffy about Suicide Squad still, even after the trailers they've shown. But I'm always iffy about the Suicide Squad in general. They don't, for some reason, pique my interest that much.
I feel you. Different vibes.
But anyway, the point is, I really love the Batman. I was just floored and exhausted and tired, and I honestly pray to God they get a sequel. I can't imagine them not doing a sequel at this point. I mean, Matt Reeves did such a good job, and his plan to get sequels are so good.
I think they were waiting on. They were waiting on the financials, and the early financials came in, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna make a sequel." As of yesterday, I think they were up to almost $150 million. So, like,
I know it's like
the 200 worldwide.
Yeah,
200
second
worldwide,
biggest release. pandemic era.
Of the dark
So.
times.
Just now realizing this now, but with the microphone like covering your face, you kind of remind me of Bane right now.
Oh,
I
good.
was wondering what would break.
Very good. I don't have one of your fancy upturned microphones. I'm forced to use a downward hanging one.
A downward hanging one.
There, that's the accent.
I was wondering what would break first.
Oh
I
wow.
was wondering.
But you know what? I was going to say something about because you were saying you were worried that it was going to be like ultra violent. I mean, like it was, but it wasn't bloody, and it was like like I think that they did a very good job, because like for as violent as it was, because there was like missing fingers, there were like very scary images for sure.
Yeah,
but like
lots of beatings to the pulp, but they always felt wrong, and you were like, "This isn't right." And even Batman's like off, and then like by the end of the movie, you're like, I can't just be vengeance because it's inspiring bad people to like do horrible things.
And it makes him careless as well.
Mhm.
Like, just working off of pure emotion helped the Riddler kind of accomplish what he wanted to accomplish. And we've seen this before with the Joker, but it really well done here in showing kind of a novice Batman that you can't go out there and just wing it.
You idiot. Oh, you said wing.
Alyssa, what did you think of it?
I loved it. Honestly, I found myself holding my breath for multiple parts of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Visually, it was just like yummy, delicious film noir candy.
Stunning.
Yes.
Yeah, it was so cool to me to see like actual like becoming a good detective Batman. I think that was like probably the most thrilling part for me in it.
Because he wasn't perfect. He was making mistakes too.
Yeah,
right.
when the Riddler like actually places like the final thing right in front of him right from the beginning of the movie, and he goes like, "Oh, you're not nearly as smart as I thought you were." I was like, "Oh no, what did we miss?"
Yeah, for sure. So I had a super fun time, and I loved it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was compelling. I thought it just made me very excited for more versions of this Batman.
Mm-hmm. And so interesting too that it's like the DC's just like, you know what, screw the overall universe, we're making our own new universe. It's going to be its own thing.
I see, that's what I'm really liking about, I guess, DC. Like they adamantly failed at making their cinematic universe. Like, I aggressively failed even.
Aggressively.
They did.
Even though like I do like Zack Snyder's Justice League, especially like Josh Whedon's can rot in a dirty grave, but Zack Snyder's is amazing. And I watched all like 4 hours of that thing with my friends over quarantine. We all got like tested and double tested and stuff before you
Did you watch it in black and white too?
No, we did not watch Justice is Great. That's a bit of a stretch.
That's next level. Yeah.
I was like, come on, Zack Snyder.
Yeah, but honestly, I thought that one was really fun. But the point is, although that like whole thing was such a fiasco, I'm really liking them spearheading this, like, you know what? We're just gonna kind of do our own thing now. We're gonna have like Shazam running around, we got Suicide Squad stuff happening, we got Batman. It doesn't really all have to be connected because Marvel has that so like sewed up to the point where I watch No Way Home. I love No Way Home.
Oh
but
my God,
sometimes it's like choking with their continuity, where I'm like, I'm watching a TV show, there's no real room for any kind of artistic expression, it feels like, because they all kind of look in a way and
they are kind of like
they're all
pigeonholed a little bit, yeah.
Because they're all like a big TV show, basically. It's a big TV show you watch on the movie screen.
Totally,
like,
yeah.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that, is the point. Like, it's really cool that they did that. It's like a unique, awesome thing. But I've just been really enjoying the Warner Brothers, supposedly, I say supposedly right now, because, you know, as soon as they get a hit with Batman, they're like, oh, yes, we are only artistic integrity going forward. But,
I mean, I guess with in terms of Marvel, like, at least up until now, they have been very, very, like, relatively limited as to what they can do. But now, with the introduction of the multiverse, it feels like they might have a little more room to spread
and Disney
out.
Plus gave them the chance to be ballsy. And and that's a positive
for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But I completely agree with you, because like it does kind of like it lends, everything has to be sort of in the same style, in the same this and that. They can't veer too far away from the original like thing.
Yeah, but then I said we have bright spots, and like Dino was saying, we have Disney Plus that gives them some balls, and like the obviously upcoming Daredevil series and Moon Knight. It looks like they'll take
Disney Plus. We've got balls.
Yes. the ears on our head aren't ears; they're balls. But they're gonna probably be able to take some like more gritty takes for people like Daredevil and Moon Knight and some other maybe street level heroes that we don't usually get to see enough of.
Totally.
Like even hell, Jessica Jones was on that. That was one of the Netflix era, I guess. So my bad. Yeah. I love Jessica Jones.
Well, and there is talk she's going to get wrapped into, they're kind of doing their retconning now, where they're going to pick and choose things that don't exist in canon anymore and kind of fold them in like they did with Daredevil and Kingpin.
And I hope they bring the Purple Man back, because I really was sad when he died. That's my own proclivity with the Marvel Universe. All the bad guys die, and I'm like, I want to see these people again. Come on.
I know, right? I know.
Well, with the multiverse, anything's possible.
Yeah, we can kill Killmonger 19 times.
Perfect.
Yeah, right.
Why not?
Anyways, let's get back on subject.
So the Batman. Right.
Anyway,
that thing.
So you are a big comic reader, Konnery. Have you read like most of the books that this film was, taken most of the inspiration from?
I believe
Do we know how many official Batman comics there are out there?
For in general?
Ever?
Oh, I don't know that number. No.
It's gotta be.
That's an easy Google.
Yeah. Does anybody want to do like Prices Right? Like,
well, I mean, you can kind of get an idea from it because they've been released since 1940, and they've been bi-monthly since 1940.
Detective Comics is on 1,000 something right now.
Oh my God.
They just turn to their actual serial numbers back. Like they do that off and on. So I'm like, that's just Detective Comics though.
Wow.
If we're on the line, that's not Batman, which who knows how many things Batman is. It probably has I believe I saw an 800 number at one point. So I think it has maybe around the same.
That tracks.
So we're probably a little over 2,000 maybe.
And that's not including random team ups or
Nightwing, Robin.
Yeah.
It's astronomical. It's tedious. A tedious count.
So many. So we sort of I kind of accidentally spoiled it for myself because I listened to the score. I listened to the soundtrack before seeing the film.
Yeah, don't do
a lot of punny names in that soundtrack.
I haven't looked at the soundtrack yet.
He loves his silly titles. I love them.
Have you guys seen his Planet of the Apes 2 soundtrack?
No.
Oh, it's all
to it. I don't think I've looked at
the entire thing is.
Oh, I love it. Well, that's a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
Well, luckily on this track list, there was no Qui-Gon's noble end.
Oh God.
I was like, what?
Ruined generations' expectations for that film.
Like, son of a...
Damn it, John Williams, or whoever writes the track listings.
Which
is definitely not John Williams.
Yeah, that was a
blunder.
Mistake.
Oh yeah, I think this movie is I think a lot of people would talk about it. It's based on Long Halloween, obviously, which with the holiday killer replaced with the Riddler. Batman Year One, even though it's the second year of him being Batman, but I think that's just mostly him and Gordon's relationship. Where it's like, come on, man.
For sure.
He calls him man the entire time. So good.
Just disappearing from every single scene.
Come on, man, constantly. And Jesus.
Jesus.
Says Jesus like 15 times.
He does.
Guys, that is literally like one of my favorite things in action films. And I actually I'm starting a compilation. I have like a collection of just people in action films saying, "Oh my God."
Oh my God.
It is a staple. You have to have it at least once, but sometimes it's said 1,000 times, like this film.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, but
you're gonna have to be very, very smart about which one you pick.
Yeah, right. There's like three different ones that you usually get said.
I think those are like the two primary inspirations.
Yeah,
and then obviously with the ending No Man Land and 0 Year play like a big part in like the setup for the next.
Right.
And oh my gosh, yeah. I also have read Batman Ego, which that feels very similar flavor wise as well.
Which one's with Ego in it again? I remember seeing that was one of the inspirations, but I was trying to pull if I've read that one before or not.
Yeah, it's been a little minute for me.
Do you keep track? Do you have like a list?
I have my giant Batman shelf that's right in front of me.
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah, so it felt really cool to be able to pinpoint what came from the comics.
That is something that I haven't done yet. Like because I mean, obviously, I'm still very much a novice as well with reading in general, but with comics in particular. Having read like numerous comics and be like, oh, I could see where they pulled from there and there. Yeah, that's fun.
Well, and you have the comic book inspirations, but what I really enjoyed was the references to other films and
And,
I mean,
and real life murderers.
Well, right, yeah.
Right?
Zodiac Killer is I think
Totally
what we're all thinking of.
Well, yeah. I mean, we started off with that binocular shot, which felt very much so like a Hitchcock or Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, it's very voyeuristic and creepy. And then later on, Batman does the exact same thing to Zoe Kravitz, which is
very
just
brilliant.
Another creepy mirror image of him and the Riddler.
Well, because at the end he was saying, he's just like, I'm just like you. We're the same. And he's like, what?
No, you're a murderous
not.
psychopath. No.
You're the psychopath, not me.
Well, and then very, very clear nods to Taxi Driver and The Godfather, especially with all the Carmine Falcone.
Totally.
There was the song playing in his penthouse.
Yes, I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I looked it up. So it was I Have But One Heart.
Yeah, he's singing at the wedding.
In The Godfather, Johnny Fontaine sings.
Yeah. Wow.
I knew I had heard that song somewhere.
That's so cool.
This is The Godfather.
Yeah, and then the other kind of sort of Godfather callback was when you go back to his penthouse the second time, he's listening to Volare, which in Italian is to fly. So
cute.
we've got the the tie-in, the rat with wings situation.
And
yes. Riddler's theme's like a weird inverted Ave Maria.
I was going to say it's like in a minor key, and I was sitting there.
It is,
going, oh my word.
Yeah, it's like he's just like in plain sight giving us like his inspiration. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also Michael Giacchino for president of everything.
Yeah, for
Lord
president
God,
of everything. He took that Nirvana song, and I am 99% sure he took some of the themes in the movie.
Yeah, he probably pulled
and extended them, and it felt like Nirvana was part of the
It was so smart, and he picks such smart moments to quote things in a way that's not like hella obvious. But I saw the movie with my dad, and he was like freaking out because every single time he quoted something different. Like he quoted the original theme song, the TV theme song.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, sure thing.
But like in a very smart, not just like
remember that one time
wink mode.
Yeah. It's not like the Danny Elfman part of like the Batman and Zack Snyder's. You literally hear like the what's called the Batman TV show theme.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
He just is so smart. We talked about him for like 20 minutes on our last episode.
But good. I was like, he deserves it. He scored the entire movie. There's not a moment without music in this movie.
Right. And he said it's the longest score he's ever done.
Oh, is that right? Well, I mean, it's a 3-hour film, so
I think that there was an hour and 59 minutes of music.
And it didn't feel like 3 hours either. It was a fast 3 hours, I think.
Yeah, there are parts where it felt kind of slow. I saw it with a bunch of friends.
It definitely took its time.
And there's like there's some points where you're like okay, like yeah, but then like it just wraps you back up in it, and you're like okay, let's keep going.
Well, because he definitely took his time, like in those like artistic moments, where we're just kind of seeing some like rainfall in slow motion, like.
I love how wet and dirty Gotham is in this.
Yeah,
it's my favorite thing.
It was raining constantly.
Yes, like that's one of my favorite things. Like I feel like Gotham is like rainy all the time, and gross and
just
muddy
sad
and mucky. And what was it? Shoot. It's such a difference going from like a very sterile Gotham and Christopher Nolan's, which I feel like it's very like it feels very corporate. A lot of
it's like we're in Chicago or something.
It's like I'm putting on my suit and I'm going to work and everything's fine and dandy. But this is like this has a personality. This is like everyone says Gotham's a filthy cesspool of crime and villainy, and I believe it.
Yeah, big time.
But what you know what I liked, and it's kind of an inverse they're going with here, because I remember Batman Begins was very much a grimy, depression-ridden Gotham. But the whole arc of that trilogy was, okay, Harvey Dent comes in and cleans it up, and they really put a lid on it, even though it's all built on a lie. But this direction, it feels like it's descending into even worse.
Things are getting worse before they get better.
And Batman
I like
has to.
Yeah, and it has to, exactly. I like somebody's interpretation on Twitter where they were like, is Batman going to get a new suit for the second one? And they're like, and people were saying no, and I was like, I think I agree. I like the idea of him like still wearing this suit in the second one, but it's getting so like Arkham City fucked up levels where like it looks like he has to get a new suit by the end of the night. Yeah. And by the third one, he'll have a new suit and be ready to go. Oh,
it just keeps getting scarred.
Yeah, like scarred and broken, and like patches are missing, holes in his wing,
I love that.
His cape.
I was pretty stoked to see the Batarang. That was speculated from the get-go of seeing like, you know, or the original like images of his suit. It's like, what's going on with that chest plate?
I like that was attachable. When he cut the thing, I was like, oh, thank Christ.
I was like, there it is.
Did you guys like the use of Venom in this movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait,
I was
Venom?
like,
wait, what did I miss?
Holy crap.
in that final confrontation up in the rafters,
he's fighting all of the Riddler followers.
He's been shot several times, and he's just exhausted. And he presses that button on it.
He injects himself.
He inflates. Basically. I mean, with adrenaline, and I immediately went to like, oh my God, are they going to make Batman a drug addict? Like, is he? Because that's a very addictive.
It is
last resort, but
and there's a comic from 1991 that was like all about him becoming addicted to some similar drug.
Addicted to Venom. That he becomes
Batman Venom. Yeah,
that feels like this Gotham like absolutely could. There is room for that story to be told. Totally.
Oh yeah, or at least I like that him being like, he'll use Venom as like a last resort, which I always thought was kind of cool. An idea of him being like using his enemies' weapons against them. I always really liked. Like, I always wondered why he never used like incorporate like Scarecrow's fear gas to like spray at bad guys. So I feel like he does maybe once or twice, or like I know he has like Cairo like grenades from like Freeze and stuff and like that kind of stuff. So I like the idea of him like incorporating his enemies like weapons into his own like arsenal to kind of like fuck with them.
Sure. Yeah. Like as he fights new ones, he like gains more of an arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like using a concentrated small dose of Venom to be like, I won't be addicted, but it's a last resort measure, and it obviously has super big consequences because this turns him into a berserker for like a minute.
Oh my God. And he wears like poison lipstick, like poison ivy, and just like kisses all the guys and like kills them.
That's really gets Catwoman with that one.
That's Daniel's dream.
That's my Batman.
But I was reading an interview with the costumer.
So bad.
I was reading an interview with the costumer who said part of the actual inspiration for this version of the Batsuit was Arkham City. And
is that right?
And how built up he is with all the extra padding. But also she wanted to piece together like Vietnam era.
I read that.
Military
that's
fatigues
so cool.
And just kind of a more thrown together look than
the big Doc Martens that he's wearing.
Well, those are actually, somebody tracked down what those were, because I went to see if somebody had already cosplayed this, and somebody did.
Of course.
Immediately.
The boots,
it's been a week.
The boots, very timely, are Ukrainian military boots.
Really?
Oh, damn. Okay.
Completely coincidental.
How interesting.
But they're a type of Ukrainian military boot, and then he had
random.
And then he had like a separate boot for the stunt drivers were allowed to kind of pick a boot that was easiest for them to be on a bike with and whatnot. But very interesting little tidbit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say costuming looked great. I mean, I like Catwoman could have easily looked really hokey, and I thought she looked real sexy and great.
I love I love the put together, like the just kind of thrown togetherness.
It feels right for where we are on, as far as like the timeline of Batman is concerned.
Totally.
It feels really dead on.
And the Riddler, I think, because he has not been depicted on screen, on the big screen, since Jim Carrey. You couldn't be further.
I watched that last night, literally.
You did?
I watched Batman Forever last night.
I mean,
oh my god,
it was a lot of people's gay awakening. You know, like that.
It
Well,
was,
I guess
yeah.
like those two films, I should say, probably, but love those films.
They're fantastic. They're uber camp, and they're always a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah. But you just have to be like in that mode.
Exactly. I will say Val Kilmer is one of my favorite Bruce Waynes. Not my favorite Batman, but my favorite Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne.
You know what? You're right. He does have that swank that like a rich, like, you know.
He just seems more like emotionally disturbed. Like I think him and Robert Pattinson would have a very good conversation because I watched I watched it last night, and Val Kilmer does this really good monologue of like to Robin at one point. Robin's like, all I can think about is killing Two-Face. I just want to go kill Two-Face. Why won't you let me go kill him? And he says like, okay, I let you go. Like we kill Two-Face. And then you go out again in the night, you look for another face, and then another, and another, and another. And then one day you wake up in the morning and your whole life has become about revenge and you don't know why. And I was like, oh my God, that's such a good line, the great explanation as to why Batman doesn't kill people. It's like, because everyone says like, oh, he should kill people. And like that's what Ben Affleck Batman did. Like he adamantly killed people. And Zack Snyder reportedly saying, grow the fuck up, Batman kills people. And I hate that remark so much, but
but I mean we can unpack that at another time because that does enrage me actually.
Thank you.
But interesting, since we're talking about Batman's philosophy. Alyssa and I were discussing last week an interview that Robert Pattinson gave about his approach to the no killing, Batman's no killing, and how he said it would be, I'm paraphrasing, he said it would be foolish to think that Batman doesn't take some sort of pleasure in hunting people down and having to pull himself back from the brink of doing bad stuff, which I thought was a really interesting psychological approach to Batman, of like having to constantly keep his own desires in check while he's mercilessly beating people. And he said, especially early in his career, this being year 2 of Pattinson's Batman being out on the streets, he said he wanted to explore the psychological ramifications of like, what if every person I'm chasing reminds me of the person who killed my mother, of the Joe Chill, I see his face in every single person I come into contact with, every criminal I come into contact with. So that was a really kind of elegant way to manifest it, and it does give you that arc by the end of the movie of, I can't be vengeance anymore, I have to be hope. And
I really like that.
I am hope. I'm glad he didn't say that.
There's so many good parts though, just like entails like him coming to terms with that. Like I read something with him like falling into the water, and then it's him being reborn as from vengeance.
Baptism.
Oh yeah, it felt
baptism.
very
and then
baptism.
a very like
and then he had all his followers,
leading everyone out of the dark,
yes, with
into
the
the
torch.
light.
I was like,
there was a whole lot of symbolism going on there. And gorgeously shot.
And Matt Reeves loves his like Moses allegories a lot, so Planet X, the entire thing is that,
and it works for Batman. And I'm thinking of like one of those
people go.
I'm thinking of one of those last shots where he's standing on top of the building, lifting that kid, kind of into the helicopter, and the sun peeking out from the clouds, and
the way she like grabs onto him in that scene is just like,
I mean,
and the fact that it's like the first tender moment we see from him. That's not like, because I don't think he ever touches Catwoman when they kiss, like.
Not really.
Yeah. Her in that one scene, but that's me like, shut the fuck up. It's like someone's gonna find us.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Like when he literally like tenderly touches their hand, just like looks at them like reassuringly. I was like, this is it. Like that's my Batman. Like this is the Batman.
Batman.
My host Tyler was talking about like how much he loves this Batman. I was like, I know why, because you love Spider-Man 2 so much.
Okay.
This is the Batman like that's like in the dirt and the muck with like the people, like he's there. Like, this movie is very civilian.
It's the train scene where they catch Peter from falling. And it's just kind of the reverse of Batman doing that for these people, as everything around them is about to get a whole lot worse. Him taking on the hopeful mantle. It was
nice to see at least a little hope, because man, it was like I was disturbed by the film.
Yeah, I think for me the most like upsetting were like the online terrorist
Yeah.
stuff with the Riddler. It's
very timely and
unfortunately, I was like, oh, this is so scary, and then immediately my brain is like, and we've seen this.
Yeah.
Like, this is not silly. Oh, what if that happened? This happened in a comic book. Like, we have seen
definitely believable
angry people, banding together because.
Well, and also just like the
so scary.
The writers giving the Riddler like a legit reason to like do what he was doing, like because he was a vigilante, like taking all of these bad actors out of the picture kind of thing, and yeah, just very, very.
And my first thought, because this script was written in 2017, so any depictions of things that have happened recently are unfortunately coincidental. But
okay, well, that's interesting.
But the tone that kind of struck me with the Riddler was not so much recent events. They are.
I love that actor, by the way,
Paul Dano.
Yeah, great.
But so school shootings, like school shooters, and think about every school shooter you've ever read about, who has an active online presence.
Sure.
Either in a Reddit forum or other social media, they have
some of them got like followers, yeah.
But somebody who is so isolated from society that they become, what we all refer to now, rightfully or wrongfully, lone wolves. Lone wolves.
I call them incels.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But people who feel like society left them behind, and they crave notoriety and attention that either they didn't get growing up or from society. I mean, that's just their justification, and that's what was so chilling about it to me. Was like, we've seen this, unfortunately, how many times? Every single year.
And something so frightening about like just that, to me at least, was after the movie, I saw like I feel like I'm on Twitter too much, but I saw this Twitter report of somebody being like, I thought it was really funny when like the scene where the guy says, where some cop says like the Riddler has like 500 followers, like real French type, like that's that's a big number, and I'm like, okay, your streaming of like 1 million benign 13-year-olds is like not the point. It's the fact that he has 500 people who are going to line up with guns and attack the city. Like, when you see 500 people with a gun, that's scary. Like, no matter it again, like at the end of the movie, like how many people show up? Maybe like 20 people.
One person with a gun is scary.
Yeah, one person with a gun is scary. Then 20 show up, and it's horrifying. It's a horrible like mass event that takes out an entire city.
Oh my God.
Like, it's terrifying to see what just a few people can do with a violent agenda.
Well, and it's so well done when he's streaming to his followers, and it's so benign in that it's like, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. He might as well have said, don't forget to like and subscribe.
I think he did at one point.
You see the comments and the little hearts popping up on the screen.
The most disturbing one for me was
caliber and ammunition. Like, thanks for that. Like, it's horrible.
The most disturbing scene for me, I think, in relation to all that, was the church scene. Just because it's supposed to be a sanctuary, and of course we're all knowing that something's going to happen, because it's just like that tension building up. And I loved, but I also hated, because it made me so uncomfortable, just their the choice to not show us what was happening outside, but just hearing it like coming. And then the car finally like breaking through the doors, and like, oh man, that, and then also just the very like Saw style trap that was like attached to his freaking neck, and
all of them with the rats and the
yikes.
It's very 1984 with that one.
Yikes. Yeah, it was hella spooky.
Well, and then the choice letting him explode.
Yeah,
I mean, here's one of Batman's failures. Like, he's and by extension, Gordon's failure. And it's every time Batman kind of stumbles, it makes Gordon look dumb because he's sticking his neck out for him. And
also in those his like live streams that you're talking about, there's like, of course there's Easter eggs in there too. If you go through and like read the things, there's even like hiding in plain sight. Like, one of his followers says like, oh, we're gonna have to repeat this again in a couple of days. You know what I mean? If he doesn't die, like, basically alluding to the fact that they're going to be blowing the city up anyways. Yeah, very, very They did such a good job. It's such a good job.
Yeah, good job being scary.
Did anybody, I'm actually curious about this. Did any of you guys like have any idea like where it was going to end up?
Oh no, I was jaw dropped. I had no idea. I'm not that smart.
Yeah, and I think just they did a really good job of kind of misdirecting us like away from that first, because they did, like when he picked up the murder weapon, it seemed like so special and weird, the carpet thing. But then we never talked about it again, which was a good thing, because it was exactly like what Batman was doing. He didn't think about it until the very end. But like I think if they had like, you know, stayed on that item for a little longer, we might have been like, there's probably something to that. But
the fact that it was shown and then it's the pivotal piece is like the coolest thing, because it is such a
I love that shit
that's just
so much.
Weapon. And you don't even know what it is. Like I had no idea what that thing was until like the guy was like, "Oh, it's a carpet peeler." And he's like, "It's a what?" And then he just rips up the guy like, "Oh no!" And the fact that the Riddler does like the same weird psychopath thing that Bruce does, like writing on the floor, and Bruce is like uncovering the mystery.
Total parallel there.
Spray paints all over the floor.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It just, that felt so like just old school detective story, which I love.
We were
to
hoping
see.
for that for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, did you guys kind of sorry, what were you saying, Dino?
No, I was going to say, interesting to note, and I thought maybe at the time this was just confirmation bias on my point, but this is the most of Batman we've ever seen in a movie. He spends a vast majority of this movie as Batman.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
As
sure.
actual Batman. Whereas, Whereas
we don't see much.
Nolan films, especially, were very much about Bruce Wayne. And
well, this Bruce Wayne doesn't want like any part of his like Bruce Wayne life. He's like, no, F that.
There's a line where Alfred's like, "You gotta talk to your accountants." And he's like, "I don't care about that."
None of it matters.
This is the Batman that would be doing this if he had nothing. If he was homeless on the streets, he'd still be trying to find a way to like attack criminals and like do it. It'd be messier, but he'd be doing it no matter what, which I'm kind of like, I always think that's cool, because always the point of Batman isn't his money and isn't his wealth, it's his like drive and determination
ingenuity
to fix Gotham and to do it in not any means necessary, but doing it his way and like just rooting out as much as he possibly can, even if it kills him, like what Zoe Kravitz says, like this will kill you, and he's like, I still gotta try, I still gotta do this.
Well, even his relationship with Alfred, Andy Serkis's Alfred, is so different than previous depictions.
Totally.
It's very it feels more combative, where like they're very distant towards each other. It's not a father-son relationship. It's like it's like your butler who kind of raised you kind of relationship, where Alfred it's like, oh yeah, I was a bad dad. Like I know that.
But
like,
we also infer that Alfred physically trained him, and we learned from Andy Serkis that he was a former British Marine, served with
which
Bruce's
is following
dad.
the year one.
Yeah. I love that backstory. Just gives
classic military Batman. Military Alfred's always cool.
But I'm glad that moment in the hospital, that was probably the only other moment in the movie where I was kind of able to take a breath and go, okay, there's some hope here. There's some forgiveness happening.
Imagine waking up from a coma and the first thing your kind of adopted son says to you is, "You lied to me."
Welcome back. Hi.
And he knows exactly what he's
talking about. You lied to me.
Oh,
hello to you too, Bruce.
that gives you insight into how long Alfred has been sitting on this, because when he wakes up and Bruce says that, he knows exactly what he's talking about. Like immediately before he says anything. And very interesting. What were you gonna say, Dan?
I was just gonna I don't know what inspired me to pivot, but I was just curious if you guys saw a lot of the parallels to
there it is.
The cinematographer in this film was the cinematographer for Rogue One.
Yeah.
Is that not right?
No, that's right.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny. I actually didn't really realize that going in, and I
think we talked about it actually, but I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah, same. And it just like seeing so many different parallels because he like using some of his tricks from that film that worked really, really well and putting it into this film, and it still worked so great. Like the parts where we're like zooming in on the darkness, and the darkness is getting like more dark, and then we don't even see Batman, you know what I mean? Like we just assume that he's there, and it's just like it's that tension, like when is he gonna come out? When is he gonna come out? And then also the scene where he's like fighting the guys in the hallway where the lights are all out and all we were seeing is just like gun shots and
club.
stuff like that.
In the club.
Very, very similar to the Darth Vader hallway scene that we've like all know and love so much.
Yep. The one time I've actually been scared of Darth Vader.
Yeah, literally same.
Right?
Literally same. Right?
There's one of the line in like a Star Wars comic that I like a lot where like the rebel army has them surrounded and they're like, stop, we have you surrounded. And then Vader's like, all I'm surrounded by are dead men. And I was like, oh my God.
Yikes. Yikes. Calm down, Darth Vader.
That's on his repertoire. You know that.
I mean, speaking of that first sequence in the movie where we're getting Bruce's narration and we keep waiting for Batman to show up in those shadows, but he doesn't show up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that is such a great subversion of
expectations.
I think it's going to happen.
Well, and down in like the subway, like when those scary Joker Halloween dudes were scary on the train, and obviously that was like a parallel to that.
Oh, I was going to ask you too. And maybe you guys would know better, but because that's where I went too. Like, were those like Jokers dudes?
I don't think they're Joker
I don't think
dudes.
they are. I think they're just like
at least not
for Halloween.
yet.
Yeah, that hasn't been like confirmed.
It's the element that will like probably gather towards Joker.
Sure.
But I first thought they were Joker goons when I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, like Joker's in the world, we just haven't seen him yet.
Well, because
like
in like the Arkham series, that's kind of how they look.
Yeah, it is exactly how they look, in fact.
Totally.
But I think Joker is here, obviously. He's already locked up in Arkham. So I think he's yet to like exert proper influence.
He's not like the Joker.
Yeah.
But he's done to get into Arkham Asylum, he's obviously had to have done something.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, but he's like not the Joker that we know.
You're just be crazy. Yeah, you're not wrong. I guess he could have just been committed for being cuckoo crazy. But
yeah, he's not there quite yet. Is the whole like deal? But like, I have a slight theory of being like, in this first movie, in the end, we see Joker, and we're like, okay. In the second movie, I still don't think he's gonna be there. I don't want a Joker in the second movie, but I think his influence will be more felt. I think we'll start to see more like Jokery things going on.
Maybe,
and then the third movie, it'll
like
be all out.
The end is seeing him coming out of Arkham Asylum, like, fucking did it.
Or like even like an escape, and we just see like his cell door open, or like I kind of like don't want to see him even like at all. Like I don't want a hokey scene with him being like, and I'm the Joker in the end.
He walks out with his cane
I think
and
there's
his
something to be
green
said.
suit.
we need a break from.
Yeah, right?
I agree.
From Joker.
Yeah.
Like,
and so like, I just want it to be like in the shadows, like little hints here and there, like whispers even. And then by the third movie, like when Batman's at his strongest by the end of the second one, I want to introduce the element that can like tear everything he knows down to the ground.
Sure.
Well,
how do you feel about the actor that they for the Joker?
Oh, I love that guy. I think he's brilliant. And when he was the Joker, I was like, oh, perfect. Like that guy freaks me out anyway. He's great.
Yeah.
He doesn't need him.
He's a lot more subtle of an actor, I think, than I was expecting them to go with.
What's his name? Does anyone here?
I keep forgetting it. He was in the Eternals.
Killing of a Sacred Deer too.
No, he's good. He's great, and I think that he's a great choice. But I'm with you, Konnery. I think that
or Barry Keoghan.
There it is.
Thank you.
There it is. Yeah, I just think we need a Joker break, and it's fine if he's there and he's like,
if you got him,
organizing stuff that ultimately blows up for Batman. But we don't need.
Well, what got me really
we don't
excited.
Need more of him.
I've been reading a lot of Matt Reeves interviews in the this movie, and what got me very excited was about a character he is expressly wanted to pursue, and it was Mr. Freeze.
Thank Christ, he's on my list.
He's my favorite Batman villain because of the animated series.
If you can make him grounded, they just
haven't done it on screen yet.
Yeah, it would be very cool to very cool to see.
There it is.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Okay,
some motherfucker's always trying to skate uphill. That's Blade.
Oh my god.
But his depiction in the Batman animated series, and if you've seen the animated film Sub-Zero, Michael Ansara, rest in peace, was the voice of Victor Freeze, and I think he would be so friggin' terrific to see in a Matt Reeves universe.
I agree.
A villain that's I use Thanos as a way to illustrate that there's definitely something that's driving him to where
there's a
he's
love and
going.
reason to his criminal activity.
There's a sick, twisted compassion. Like,
tragedy.
I have to save my wife.
Yeah.
And nobody gets it.
And regardless of her own wishes, even like I believe in a lot of the canon, Nora is fine with dying. Like she doesn't want to like keep going. And the fact that Victor chooses to keep her alive for his own selfishness is like the main ethos of what kind of makes him an obsessive kind of bad man.
Yeah.
Well, and Bruce and Victor being
you're gonna live and you're gonna like
they're
it.
not interested in being combatants, because every time we reach a conclusion of one of their stories, it usually ends with Bruce going, I'm going to do everything I can for your wife. Or
like I want to save Nora.
Sorry, Victor.
You just have to stop doing criminal things.
Right.
Yeah, stop being such a dick.
Yeah,
but anyway,
pretty much stop being a dick and I will save your wife. And he's like, and the thing is, I understand why that promise maybe even rings a little hollow to Mr. Freeze, because it's like, you have so much on your plate. When are you going to have time to save my wife? You're taking too long. Like it's taking forever. Like I'm dying. I'm getting older. Like I need her here now. And so his obsessive compulsive thing takes over, and then he does bad things to try to do the deed.
Yeah, it's like it's like a tale as old as time. All the the bad people out there that like they just want the attention, and they're not getting it, and they're like, I'm gonna do this to get my attention, and because that's the only way they know how.
Do you guys engage in speculation on this show at all?
Oh, usually.
Okay, good. Because I didn't know if it was in the theme of the show, but like, I'm really curious who you like. I know Dino wants to see Mr. Freeze, but like, I'd be curious. Like, they usually pair these movies with two villains. Like, who would you guys like to see in like the next Batman movie in general? Just like a wild idea.
I do want to see more of Penguin. We haven't even talked about Colin.
Yeah,
Farrell yet.
I think that, I want more Penguin.
More
That's
Penguin.
If you didn't, I mean, if
even if he hadn't been introduced in this, I would want more Penguin.
I think it's a surefire bet we'll get more Penguin.
I cannot believe that was Colin Farrell. Like I knew Colin Farrell was Penguin, but if you didn't know, there was no way you were going to figure it out in that movie.
No.
He did a little test where he like said like I walked into a convenience store in makeup, and despite a few looks, nobody knew it was me. I'm like, of course they're not Colin. Look at you.
But you don't even kind of look like yourself.
Like you look like a monster.
I'm a monster.
And I love that he was kind of very grounded in this Gotham reality and wasn't an actual penguin. But I do love that when he gets roped by Batman.
Yeah,
the waddle was cute.
That was good. I'm glad you guys picked up on that. I didn't pick up on that. My friend Jacob whispered over to me, and the movie's like, they made him waddle. And I was like, oh, they did.
There were only like I really probably could count on one hand like the funny moments, quote unquote funny moments in the movie. Like and even those, they weren't like laugh out loud. They were just kind of like a haha, like chuckle. Like I was glad that there was at least like something there to give us a little levity.
A little levity is good.
Yeah. Like the other thing was like which wasn't really funny. It was kind of like it was the thumb drive joke.
Try this.
Yeah, yucky.
There was also the part I thought was like more like maybe more grim humor, a bit of like the officer. Like, I got you up on assaulting 2 officers, and then Batman says, "You got me on assaulting 3." Like he's gonna go beat him up too. I was like, "Yeah, get him." Batman hates cops. Thank you.
But to answer your question, back to your question, Konnery. So
yes, thank you.
Mr. Freeze. I would. I don't know. I don't think the pairing works because it doesn't make sense. But I do want to see Poison Ivy done.
Ooh,
again, like
you want to bring back the Batman and Robin, but do it better.
Yes, I just don't think I want to see them in the same movie, but I would like to see Poison Ivy again. Like the bioterrorism is very interesting.
Yeah,
they both are kind of bioterrorists in their own special way.
Yeah, sure. Right. Just completely
polar ends,
opposite directions. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, Margot Robbie has said, like, she's like, I'll produce it. She's like, let's get Poison Ivy back in here. Yeah. Let's get Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn together.
Sick.
Oh, I love that. Good.
I would like to see, because, and maybe it's just because of how they depicted the Riddler in this, ventriloquist.
Oh, that's a good.
I think that would
Mr. Freeze and Ventriloquist is a good set, dude. I like that.
That would
be
neat.
Fun
and spooky. That would be
that's
terrifying.
scary. That's
or
good.
even a Mr. Zaz, like somebody who's just poking
That's
around in the
good.
shadows, like
These are good
people's
picks.
faces off.
Dino, those are good choices.
Daniel, do you have any other?
I just want to see my boy. Which I mean, I think that they kind of hinted to it where Catwoman is headed to at the end of the movie.
She's headed to
Bloodhaven.
Bloodhaven, which is kind of like where
that's where Nightwing is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that would be sick.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I want Nightwing.
What do you guys think? Maybe that kid he saves will be maybe his Robin.
Oh, that would be cute.
I didn't even think about that.
You know, maybe.
I kind of I got vibes from the I mean, it might be just foreshadowing, but like, and not actually who it's gonna be, but because like, yeah, Robert Pattinson would have to there'd have to be like a passage of time, which I don't think they're gonna do.
No, they're not gonna do a passage of time. He'd have to, and I want him to be like a 10, 11-year-old boy. Alyssa, who do you want to see?
A villain pairing.
Yeah.
Or another villain pairing. Honestly,
I'd love a Pinot Noir with a nice
penguin.
The side of penguin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I need to think on it.
I'll go then.
Yes.
Yeah, you go,
please.
I know I've heard Gromies about Patterson. Pattinson. I keep always saying Patterson my entire life. It's Pattinson. But but he's wanted to do the Court of Owls, which I'm like, that'd be really cool, like secret Illuminati for Gotham, like especially a flooded Gotham sounds interesting.
Sure.
And anyway, I want that, and Hugo Strange would be very cool.
Yes.
So I'm like, I like
scary mofo.
Well, here's the thing. I mean,
if he'd be like an imposter Batman towards the movie and just being like, I'm just like you, and him be like, I already did this last movie.
Yeah, because I mean, if they're going into the like Arkham realm, like because you know they've already kind of teased, because in this movie they said like there's two families, the Arkham family and the
Waynes.
Actually,
Waynes,
let's get back to that in a minute, but yes.
Yeah. So they're obviously gonna dip into the Arkham storyline, and if we're gonna get into like the like that, you know, without spoiling too much of the video games, they do get into Hugo Strange, and I think it would be cool.
Well, and another guy that I know we spent a lot of time with League of Shadows and the Nolan films, but I would love to see Ra's Raish.
Oh yeah, Ra's is dope too.
He's one of my favorite Batman villains.
I would love to see him maybe in a more comic booky adaptation,
non-white
like the Lazarus Pit.
Yeah, right. Also that.
Yeah,
but the Lazarus Pit and like
I
would love to see.
I just don't know. Yeah, like how do you make that a grounded, like more realism? Well, it'd be interesting to see.
They're walking a tightrope here of, I mean, yes, it is gritty realism, but also
we didn't get really too much whimsical, like you know.
No,
like,
but it was very gothic though. Like I'm thinking of Wayne Manor.
His house is Crimson Peak.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
It looks like an old cathedral, like an old Gothic cathedral.
Yeah, that was a cool interpretation of the Wayne mansion.
Yeah, I love it.
I do think there is some room for them to get a little weird, especially like setting up the parameters of like Gotham is now flooded and
so like
the creeps are gonna come out. Like it's gonna be weird.
That's my whole theory. Like the flood walls breaking was the fantastic breaking into this world, if you ask me. And we're gonna get some creepy weirdos in the second movie.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it's I think the Croc for sure, because I mean, you know, it's like it's now a perfect realm for him to like, you know, be swimming around.
There's this one like page panel I'm obsessed with in like one of Scott Snyder's Batman things where it just shows like a Gotham underwater with all these like with like a giant monstrous killer croc with like all these like croclings everywhere. Like somehow he managed to like infect people with his genetic disorder, and I was like, ooh, all I really want to see now is like flooded Gotham and like him like spreading his like genetic disorder, like having more people be like croclings and him be this big massive alligator monster taking over like Gotham. I'm like, that sounds really cool to me.
That would be kind of neat.
Well, and you know what, and speaking of like Venom and Bane, like we did Bane very recently, and I actually loved that interpretation of Bane, but I would like to see them do like the proper Bane with Venom, and that's not the 1997 Bane, who just doesn't have a brain, which is complete opposite of Bane.
Yes.
But I'd like to see Bane again in this world.
I'd be super down. Like if this is I keep speaking in terms of a trilogy, but I'd be satisfied if this movie was like a saga and it lasted like forever, and Robert stayed Batman for as long as he possibly could. But I know the guy has an artist's soul, and he's gonna want to do other things.
Yeah, for sure.
But
that paycheck's good,
He's
honey.
contracted for 3 projects.
I believe it was.
Oh, is that
3,
right?
And it was completely contingent on the performance of the first one.
Why is it always trilogies? I don't understand.
3's a good number. You know, good jokes. Good things come in 3s.
Yeah,
the third part of a joke's a good thing. All that stuff.
And it's biblical.
The Trinity, Jesus.
Right. Robert Pattinson is Jesus. Right.
But going back to the point Daniel was making about the Waynes and the Arkhams. Fascinating what they're doing with Bruce's parents. And number one, thank you for not showing Thomas Wayne getting murdered. And
we've seen it.
Yeah, like
we've seen it.
We've seen it. But instead, going the route of Thomas Wayne was an choir boy, and Martha Wayne was institutionalized.
And they did kind of like they sort of backpedaled a little bit on
but he's
end.
Not a choir boy. He knew he
made the choice to like scare a reporter. He scared the Elliots.
Right. He didn't mean to kill him, but like of course shouldn't have gone to this guy in the first place. Yeah.
And because Carmine wanted to do anything to get something on him, and he's like, this is perfect. And so I remember talking to my co-host Tyler at the end of like when we were walking out, he was like, oh well, I was like, I'm so glad they didn't make Thomas and Martha Wayne like bad people. I'm like, I always get a little turned off when they are like completely bad people. Yes. Like, oh yeah, they did have ties to the mob and they were real bastards. Isn't like your entire crusade a joke now, Bruce? And I'm like, like, okay, whatever. But I'm kind of happy they kind of did it anyway. So the point is, I was saying I'm glad they did a little roundabout thing with him. Like he did this thing, but he wasn't a bad person.
It wasn't like his intention to have him murdered.
And then Tyler said, like, well, he still did a pretty bad thing with Carmine said. I'm like, you're gonna believe a murderer, Carmine Falcone over Alfred.
but it's standard operating procedure in Gotham. And unfortunately, like, and Alfred says it, like your father was a very good man. But keep in mind the world he had to live in and the city he wanted to run. But
I felt like he did what he had to do.
I do love that the truth sits somewhere in between what Bruce wants to believe about his parents and then what actually happened. And that's
the best kind. They felt very human in that moment to me. Like when you said like a choir boy, I was like, yeah, it's good that he actually was like, I'm gonna have to make tough choices.
I'm gonna be if I want to be the mayor of Gotham City. I go back to like the Nolan movies of like building the lie around Harvey Dent and rejecting parole for all sorts of people who are locked up with the Dent Act. I mean, it's a lie. It's all a lie, but it was the right thing to do. Yeah, it just capitalizes on maybe even how Bruce is going to have to make some tough choices and maybe not be completely satisfied with how everything turns out. Like, similar to his father, like he wants to run Gotham in like his own way, and the choices he's gonna have to make along the way will probably inevitably hurt his vision of how he wanted things to go. Hell, they happen in the movie. He envisioned vengeance and fear being the thing to keep everybody in line, but what ends up doing is inspiring horrible people out of the woodwork to take that in their own way and really just twist and dement it.
Gotta change his messaging.
Yes, exactly. We need a better PR team for the Batman.
He's got to get better marketing. I mean, it's funny. I think that he is only in his second year of being Batman, so he's still like people don't really know like who he is yet. So he really does need to work on his marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they got a crash course there at the end. I mean, he's real out in the open, and
there's
no putting.
And now people
know
who he is.
Yeah,
and thankfully they see him hopefully as a. Because it was so like so sad and so touching to like see them like cowering from him, like being terrified at first, and then like him like
and the little boy
and
reaching
then going
out
to the little girl being like, no, don't leave me. Like it was very, very it was moving.
On the subject of knows who he is, what do you guys think of that scene where he confronts the Riddler in like the room where I was like, oh no, the Riddler knows who he is, and then he was like, Bruce Wayne.
All of the chills.
I was like, oh.
So there's two schools of thought there. I mean, I kind of feel like he probably does know who he is.
Oh, I don't think so.
I think that it was just a coincidence too, though.
Yeah, the fact that he says like we almost got him all, we almost got them all. I was like, my heart literally was like, I was so curious what they do, because I'm like, Riddler can't ever know who Batman is. He's so self-assured of himself and such like a smart ass that he thinks that's too easy. Like, I remember, I think there's even like a tape in like the Arkham Asylum game where they're like, who do you think Batman is? Like, he's like, well, everyone thinks it's Bruce Wayne. Everyone's wrong because they're stupid. I'll tell you who he really is. He's a bunch of different people, and they take turns being Batman. So he has the most like convoluted, insane answer of like this puzzle where the solution's easy. Like, it's simple. It's who he thinks it is, but he's like, that's too dumb. Yeah,
it has to be complicated.
But that whole scene with like, at any moment, Bruce is about to confirm to the Riddler.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's about to break that.
And you see his eyes welling up with tears, like he's furious. And then when he realizes, oh God, I almost told him. Like, he didn't know, and I almost told him.
I was that so close.
Brilliantly executed.
And then like how he flips the table on him entirely, and it's just like, no, you're crazy. And then like he makes Paulino just totally lose it.
Oh man, just great.
His both of them in that scene. I think that scene in particular is probably the best acting.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
People were comparing it to like I'm sorry. Go ahead, Daniel.
Oh no, did you ever see that show, The Mindhunter?
Yes.
No. Do you remember? It's the I can't remember the name of the killer, but it's the show is about like it's based off true stories of like how they started
profiling serial killers.
Exactly, the FBI. And they go in to interview all of these serial killers, and one of the first ones that was just like, yeah, I'm going to talk to you, was like really super nice, and they kind of became like friends-ish, like because he was just like such a normal but like spooky, like obviously like you can look like deep into his eyes and see no soul kind of thing, but he's like just like a very normal, but he also has glasses too. It just like that vibe kind of reminded me of this Riddler. And I love it's just it made me uncomfortable. It was great.
Yeah.
They Matt Reeves said they wanted him to look like one of the original sketches of Zodiac.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
I love that
like his little
like all of his
Zodiac
followers
sign.
decided to also like go and purchase like his same glasses to wear over their masks. I was like, that's probably unnecessary, but adorable.
Only wear clear Warby Parkers.
I like the idea of them like discussing online forums, be like, no, that's not the right brand.
Yes.
You need to get a better one.
Community. Not to suggest, I'm not suggesting with that comment that they are murderous cult.
Murderers.
But that's what's so chilling about it is that these forums exist and we've all been on them.
Yeah.
And 99% of them are benign, but like the idea that stuff like this gets organized in that way is
you get like people like the Proud
frightening.
Boys, you get people like, you know what I mean, and they do organize and they go do really shitty things.
Let's talk about January 6th.
Right. Speaking of that scene in the in Arkham, the Riddler's line about masks was interesting to me, and I was like in my head the whole time. I was like, I think that there's an Oscar Wilde quote or something, and there is, which sort of inspired his whole like, we can truly be ourselves when we put the mask on.
Yeah.
And the Wilde quote is, "Man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask and he'll tell you the truth."
Ooh, that's really good.
I really
love that
that
scene so much too, of him be like, I'm so upset that I couldn't meet you with my mask, with my face, but like, I guess this will have to do. Like, I'm a big fan. That kind of thing. I was like, oh man.
Just an obsessive fan. So spooky.
We haven't talked a ton about Catwoman, and I have to give props to Zoe Kravitz.
I'm obsessed. She knew how to walk in them heels, bitch. She
did.
Tipped for days. I was like, yes.
I mean,
Queen.
Michelle Pfeiffer is still number one in my book, but
I mean, lest we forget her
the one take whip.
One take whip.
Yeah.
My God.
Like 1, 2, 3, walk away.
Yeah, thanks. I'm good. You can just cut now.
But
I thought
Zoe,
she was great. She's so beautiful and sexy, and I was like, that makes sense when they cast her. I feel like, and I thought she did great in this film because sometimes when I like see her in things, I'm like, oh, that was like the exact same thing that you gave me in the last thing that you were in. I feel like she's a little bit of a single flavor, but she was giving me she was giving me multiple flavors in this, so I was
flavors.
Pleased.
Well,
that's what I liked about her too. Oh, go ahead, Dino.
No, I was just gonna say the stuff with John Turturro and speaking of which, very very scary Carmine Falcone.
Yeah.
But I bought Zoe Kravitz's performance, and that was all really really scary. That whole scene where the lights get cut, and
the second that started happening, because I think it is in the Ego Batman Ego, or another Batman comic that I read, that she does scratch his face off.
Long Halloween.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it is Long Halloween. Okay, I knew it was something that I'd read, because I was like, when they were together alone, I was like, oh, she's gonna scratch his face.
Oh God!
I was so hoping she'd do that too. I was like, yes, it's happening.
Yeah, solid.
Does he also die in that one too?
No, I believe he lives, and the whole thing confirms like that he is her father, and then that they kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, that's what the unveiling of that happens in Long Halloween.
That's good. But I thought Zoe Kravitz she's probably my quintessential Catwoman, to be honest now, and like everything from like her movements to her personality. I was like, she's tough, she's sexy, she's intelligent. I was like, she just has everything going on to make Batman be, and a tragic backstory to boot, to make Batman be like, I'm obsessed with you. And he even looks at it the first time he sees her, he's like, I'm obsessed with you. And like she kind of gives the same thing in turn. Like when he grabs her and he's holding her, like that be quiet scene, you can tell she goes from like annoyed to actually being like, in her eyes is just like, oh wait, I'm kind of into this.
This is kind of nice.
Well, she keeps him on edge. She
does, yeah. And it's my favorite kind of relationship between Batman and Catwoman, where she's not like, oh, she's using her like sexuality to like keep him in the palm of her hand. It's like, no, she hasn't.
So like, we don't need to see that anymore.
We've seen it,
honestly.
We've seen
it. And like, they obviously just have a deep mutual respect for each other in this movie, and they actually seem like they have intense feelings towards each other. Like they're just like,
oh yeah, he does.
It's chemistry. Like it's just fire immediately.
Yeah. Now that she is our new Catwoman, I need because I'm the current run of Harley Quinn comics. There's I think it was 2 books ago that we have Catwoman comes and helps Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy.
Oh, Gotham Sirens.
And I need it.
That'd be good. I'm into that.
Why not?
Let's talk about who we would want as Poison Ivy, new Poison Ivy, if she were to appear as new.
Well, I assume you must have an idea.
Oh yeah, please.
Honestly, if we didn't have Zendaya in Spider-Man, I might say Zendaya.
Oh, that's interesting.
She's a little young. She's a little young next to the other girls, but
they got a pretty young cast though.
Yeah, I mean, no, but I just mean next to like Margot Robbie and Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. So I mean that would be in a different universe then.
And Harley and her would have to have a thing, and that might be a little weird.
Yeah. Sure. So I don't know.
So you're talking about in the Zack Snyder universe.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Who's the lead in The Notebook again? What's her name?
Rachel McAdams.
Sure, I could see
Rachel
that.
McAdams. I have a giant crush on Rachel McAdams in general.
Yeah.
So I might just cast her as Poison Ivy just to be fun right now.
You know what? I support that because I've loved her in everything that she's done. So
yeah.
I can absolutely like envision her as like Pamela Isley.
Yeah.
I have a hard time imagining Poison Ivy at all, just because I still have like
Uma Thurman.
Uma Thurman's like
I know
Uber, interpretation. But as far as like Dr. Pamela Isley, I could absolutely see Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, but I think she already belongs to the Marvel universe, unfortunately, being like hanging out with Doctor Strange and stuff.
Yeah, she's
although we do have a lot of crossovers. I mean, God, there is even in this movie, the Andy Serkis
Jeffrey Wright.
Oh, right. You're right. You're both right. Yeah. So I guess it doesn't matter. But she might be a little too old for the part. And maybe I want to cast somebody that's a little bit like not white. So that might be fun too.
Also that.
Yeah. It's always I always like to do these like imaginary dream casts.
I'm gonna pray about it
when I'm bored.
I'm gonna pray about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See what the Lord delivers this
in
evening.
Jesus' name I pray.
Amen.
There was some other like fun Easter egg. There were lots of Easter eggs and fun things, but
yes.
One that I noticed in the background of Bruce Wayne's office, there's like a whole bust of William Shakespeare.
Yeah, the flip head Batcave thing.
Yeah, so that was fun because if you know the 60s TV show, that was how he accessed
the Batcave.
The Batcave, yeah, through the William
little
Shakespeare
button.
section.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cute.
Cute.
What else do we got here?
I was gonna say just an appreciation of stunt work in the film. I saw a interview with the director and basically just confirming that the car chase fire jump was not CGI. It was that happened.
No, but most of that chase was very practical,
real life,
which was part of what made it so dope.
And then apparently the hallway scenes like actual muzzle fire going off.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh,
freaking dope.
Good shit.
I figured that there probably was some cipher coded message situation.
With
the post credits. Have you guys seen this?
Did anybody follow the Riddler thing? Like, because throughout all of the marketing campaign, it had been building up to this.
I didn't follow it. And
the ratalada.com is a live website.
Yeah.
And the cipher from the cipher from the very end has been decoded, and it reads, "You think I'm finished, but perhaps you don't know the full truth. Every ending is a new beginning. Something is coming."
Everybody loves a comeback story.
Riddler and Batman.
Something's coming.
I don't know what it is, but it is gonna be great.
His first musical theater reference.
There we go.
We always make sure to have at least 2 or 3 musical theater references.
My kind of
we had
podcast.
Bat Boy, we've had West Side Story. This is great.
Good.
Yeah. And you did Beauty and the Beast as well, Daniel.
Yes, you did.
Oh, yes, right.
The unsung hero of this movie was the application of Batman's eyeshadow.
Yes.
I say that because there has been zero explanation for it in any of the other films, and it just magically disappears when the mask comes off.
Right.
But here it was like, that is actual eye black. He actually puts it on, and there is residue of it when the mask comes off. And
yes,
it's
and
a
this
small
is when
thing,
the
but I was
Evanescence
like,
music should have come in. Yeah.
I was like, it's a very tiny thing, but I was like, that it just
That's
adds.
cool.
It
Or
adds
My Chemical
realism.
Romance, Black Parade.
I mean, it just adds realism to.
Definitely.
And
I've seen a
Bruce
lot
not
of
being able to
TikToks that
get
like
it all
joke
off.
about it, like him getting ready, like, the bat signal, and then like
Yes.
it just reminds me of like when I read the costume, it was like they put him in like Vietnam or fatigues and stuff. Just imagining Batman just smearing that on before he.
Yeah, that's what I imagine. More it's like
reminds
grease
me of
paint,
like
him just going like that and be like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, so cool. Oh wow. Well, I mean, honestly, I could keep talking about this forever, but do you
let's do it.
Do you
Let's talk about it forever.
This is our life now. We just
This
we
is
live
what
here.
we do.
Oh, I
We'll
didn't
never
know I was committing
actually
to.
put this online. We're just gonna keep talking about it and not put it on.
That works. Do you have any other thoughts before we say goodbye?
I mean, like you said, I probably have many, but generally I like
I didn't say it at the top, but I was hesitant, like Konnery, about this movie. Initially because of Robert Pattinson, but that was years ago. And having seen him work since, those fears were alleviated. But I was worried about the need for another Batman amidst just the onslaught of Batman we've gotten these last few years. And what place would this hold? What would be the purpose of this Batman? And this tonally felt like as close as we've gotten to what Batman actually is than any of the previous. I'm not sure it's my favorite. I need more time. I need to go
Yeah,
see it.
probably
I might go
same.
see it tonight.
Did
Actually.
you guys feel confident doing like a ranking of like your favorite Batman movies?
Not yet,
Ooh.
because this
Not
one,
yet.
this
not
one,
yet.
because of
I
this
need to
one.
see it. I think I need to see it one more time.
I'll
But-
probably watch it a bunch of times when it comes to HBO in what's
Yes.
called April, I guess.
I might put it in my top like 3 to 5, or like what, like yeah, somewhere in there.
It's my number
really
2.
good.
It beat out Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Well, what's number
I
one
think
for you?
it's what's your
Batman
number one?
Begins.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely in my top 3.
Yeah. This
just
one
don't
is
know
this
where it
one is
ranks yet.
threatening the top of my list,
Mm.
because I would say every single interpretation of Batman brings something good to the table, and I do mean
Yeah.
like every single one brings
Some bring
elements.
nipples.
Right.
Yes.
They bring something
Much,
interesting
much
to the
nipple.
table, but this one, I think compiled the most elements together in one. And I would say the one thing it lacked,
Was nipples.
Daniel, you just like saying nipples. The
Say
one thing
teats.
Teats.
the one thing it
That's
lacked
teeth.
was time with Bruce. But because we've gotten that so much in the last few years, I don't know. I was such a gigantic fan of this movie, and
He's very large. He's morbidly obese.
Morbidly obese fan.
He's such a large-
I agree, Dino. I thought this was very impactful in a way that I didn't expect at all. I was floored. I was shocked. I was amazed. It was my favorite kind of movie where I couldn't guess what was possibly going to happen next at nearly
just
every
a great
turn.
murder mystery in general.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like
for
minus
sure.
the Batman stuff, like really great mystery film.
Yeah, that's what
which
I think I like the
love.
most about it. It's a mystery, and we so
Like Seven
rarely, if
or-
ever, have gotten to see a detective Batman before. And Robert
Right.
Pattinson being so Holmesian in this movie is so cool and compelling, and it just shows off an aspect of the character we don't usually get to see. Like, we've seen him brooding, we've seen him silly, we've seen him playboy, but we've never seen him actually solve a case on this kind of magnitude before,
Well,
which it just felt amazing.
and incomplete Batman, like very much
Mhm.
Batman work in progress, eating shit when he's flying through
Yeah.
the sky. And
Oh, that's like my favorite part of the
Oh, I
movie. He just
loved
flies
that.
like boom, boom, and like he gets up, walks it off. I was
Oh,
like, my
man.
But
back.
we've never seen him.
God,
We've never
that
seen
hurt.
him just like completely
Biff
screw it
shit.
up like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was great.
it's so good. Yeah,
I
agree.
might have one final question. What was your favorite piece of tech in it? Like, what was your favorite like toy that Batman
Oh,
had?
the eye cameras.
Mine
Same, I was
too,
literally gonna say
contacts.
the same.
Amazing.
Mhm.
So
Because that was
cool.
pretty. I mean, have they probably done that in the comics or no?
They have not.
They do
thought
something.
they did.
He has
It's
like the bat
something-
computer in his eyes sometimes.
Yeah.
and
And then,
there's
like,
something
I
else
really
in
like
his
the-
cowl, but
Yeah, there's like EMP
the-
masks that they employ sometimes, which I really like.
But then in
but
the
the
But-
full
Arkham games, he
contact
has
lens was really
Yeah.
dope.
But just not contact lenses, which I thought
Yeah.
was very
Right.
sick.
And I
The
like
Arkham
that
game,
Zoe
he was-
Kravitz. Oh, go ahead.
No,
David,
go
please.
for it, Connor.
I was just gonna say that I like that Zoe Kravitz remarks that they're uncomfortable to wear.
Yeah.
And when Robert takes them off, like you can tell his eyes are red and watery. Like they are like
Yeah.
a painful to wear, but he
Yeah.
wears them because he has to. And I'm also gonna coin the phrase Pat-Man, so that's what he is now. Not there's Batfleck, he's Pat-Man.
Batman, love it.
Gratefully accepted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dino.
No, I was going to say in the Arkham games, he's kind of like Iron Man in that he has the thermal imaging and all of that
Mhm.
that cool tech. I have to say my favorite piece of tech was the Batmobile. I think it's my favorite
so rad.
Batmobile.
It's pretty
because
sick.
It was like 1965 hot rod
hmm
Adam West with
A jet engine.
a jet frickin' engine, and
and it looks like a monster. It looks like it's
Yeah.
like it's its own like character.
But it's also
Yeah.
subtle enough to where if he was driving around the streets of Gotham at night, it's like, okay, like people might look at it, but
Mhm.
it's not. It's inconspicuous next to like
And-
the Tumblr or.
Sure.
And it's so part of his personality too. Like even when it starts up in that scene, like it's made to like initiate fear. Like
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
face when it's like charging up, they're like, "Oh my god, what the hell is that?"
Oh God!
That was so cool. That
Yeah.
was so cool. Just like hearing it and then watching everybody being like, what do we do?
What do we do? What's happening?
The subwoofers, they're too strong.
Yeah,
What
I felt like
scene?
the theater. I felt like I was in like, smell-o-vision theater. Like it was
I was
like my
having
chair
heart
was
palpitations.
shaking.
Like it could have restarted somebody's heart. It was-
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh,
Awesome.
Daniel, what
gosh.
was your favorite piece?
I agreed with you. It was definitely the contact lenses.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that was so sick.
Well, you guys, that was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course.
It was our pleasure.
So glad we'll definitely have you back because, well, actually, I should have said this at the beginning, and I don't even know if Konnery remembers this from childhood, but he and his family are the reason that I even know about Star Wars.
Because no way.
Yeah, because it's like not a thing. Like my parents did not show it to us, and I watched A New Hope at your house when we were kids.
Oh my gosh, Alyssa, I credit you with introducing me to Pokemon.
Oh my god, amazing!
Look at this.
Look at Pokemon, and I know that we saw at least one of the prequels in theaters.
Yes,
together.
I think it was two.
I think it was two because our
Just
families used to go to movies
to each other.
On New Year's Day or
yes, I think so.
Yeah, so I definitely so we got to have you back on to talk about Star Wars stuff.
I'd love to have me on for anything. I gotta have some of you guys on. We keep pushing back the Star Wars prequels on the Friendchise. You can find it anywhere on your podcast.
About your podcast.
I was just gonna say, Konnery, where can we find you?
You can find us. We like to describe ourselves as a virus. We're everywhere. You just have to look for us. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Stitcher. We're on. Oh my God. We're on pretty much everywhere. You get the Spotify. We're on everything pretty much.
And on the socials, are you at the Friendchise?
Yes, we are at the Friendchise Pod.
At the Friendchise Pod.
Scream at us about something. Like we beg people to say anything. Tyler likes to say email us our complaints, but I say email us your or write to us about your compliments.
Do you have a like an Instagram handle for your own personal thing, or do you don't follow me on Instagram? I don't want anybody there.
I just never post anything, to be honest. I feel bad saying follow _but_if_. Stupid. I haven't changed that at all. You're better off following the Friendchise Pod on Instagram again. But I am miserable at posting anything at all.
You're probably happier because of it, honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
No, because I have Twitter, so I'm not happy.
Oh,
true.
yeah.
I do too. I'm a very sad person.
On that sad note.
Thanks so much for coming on and talking with us, Konnery. This is Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Alyssa Simmons.
I am Vengeance.
Great.
I'm Nina.
I'm Bane.
Perfect. May the force be with you.
Always.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.